So, I don't know if any of these videos are going to go up, to be honest with you. My testimony, my witnessing, my declaration of love. Let me change the scenery. Hello! I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. Hello. Okay. So, my history of my faith, because that's relevant. So, how did I come to the church? Well, first off, I was born Catholic. Done. Goodbye. My ancestors were not. On either side of my family. Ooh, this gets interesting. So, let's go with my mother's side first. They're Native American, so they would have been pagan, I guess would be the right word, heathen, I don't know. But they worshipped multiple gods, probably the Aztec. The area that my tribe is from is on the tail end of the Aztec and Mayan area, okay, and on the tail end of the Cherokee area, okay. So we have traditions from both the Cherokee and the Aztec, but we were neither. Okay, so we're the way the Aztecs would work is that they would make smaller tribes pay, like, let's call it ransom for their freedom. So you'd have to pay like a tax to not be under their control. That was us, and we were so far out and in a desert area that nobody really cared anyway. My father's side. Hey, some racist people out there are going to be like, I knew it. I saw it in his face. So you don't know anything about Spain. Let me tell you about Queen Isabella. She saved Spain from the Muslims. But she also forcibly converted the Jews. Oh. Muslims aren't that bad. But they had kind of taken over all the land and killed a lot of people. Anyway, that's the situation. A long time ago. Okay, so if you ever hear the word caliphate, that's that. Okay, so what happened to the Jews who were living in Spain under the Muslim rule, where they were allowed to continue practicing being Muslim, after Queen Isabella came in and said, everybody's got to be Catholic? Cool, thanks. Number one, they converted because they didn't want to die. Number two, they left. Specifically, moi family got on a boat and went to Mexico. San Luis Potosí, where I'm assuming a handsome, though it could have been a beautiful, a handsome musician, because that's what my family is, they're musicians, met a beautiful native girl, and they had a baby. And that was my great-great-grandfather. The first Ramon. So, Judaism, Native Americanism. How does that equal Catholic? Well, forced conversion. Oh, ain't that a lovely subject? This is going to go lovely. Anyway, okay, so then what happened? Okay, fast forward. I was born Catholic, raised Catholic. My mother super Catholic. My dad Catholic, but you know, he had his sabbatical from the church. So would I years later. Oh, it just ties in so nicely. So my mother died. What does that have to do with anything? Well, parents being parents had to answer questions. So they told their little kids that I was a liar, that my mother did not die, because parents don't die. So then those little kids decided to make my life a living hell. So, as a consequence, I became slightly antisocial and left the church. Fast forward. Okay, so cut to I'm in college, and I find myself as a potential philosopher in an intro to philosophy class, and I'm doing well. And I'm making friends with other fellow philosophers, except they're all atheists, and they're all coming from super hardcore Protestant religion, okay? And they go from Protestant religion to atheism. And they're staunch atheists, and they're Nietzschean atheists, so they're coming at hardcore. And I have to start defending ideas that I believe. Ideas that I didn't realize were that important to me until I started having to defend them. Like, why am I defending this thing? So I find myself defending religion a lot. Specifically, Catholicism. Okay, so I did that and found myself interested in the faith again. So, cut back a few years, I decided to read the Bible all the way through. Never did actually did it. So I decided to finish that project. Only thing, by that time I was in college and I'd learned about translations. And I realized that what I was reading was an interpretation, not translation. Also called a paraphrase for those who don't use the other terminology. So I got rid of the paraphrase and I bought myself a Bible. Which one did I buy? I'm glad you asked. I got myself the New Revised Standard Version. Why? Because it was the one that, when I went to all the academic websites, because that's what I was interested at the time, recommended. All the religious sites would have different recommendations, a lot of KJV from the Protestant, a lot of NAB from the Catholics. But the only thing that all the academics would use as their English was the New Revised Standard Version, or the Revised Standard Version. So I got an academic study Bible with all the academic stuff. For those who have the Skeptic Bible, it's pretty much the same thing, except it doesn't have a staunch attack against religion. It just simply states the history of stuff. The actual history, not the biblical. Or theological history, the literal history. All right. So, I read one version. I like it. Then I'm curious about another version, so I get another version. Only there's a problem. It takes me a little while to read. My skills get better. I read other books. I'm doing other stuff. You know, whatever. Once my comprehension gets better and my understanding gets better and life quits getting in the way, I get to Paul. And I don't like anything that Paul is saying. I have read through genocides. I have read through mass murder. I've heard, you know, the Jews being told to kill off women and children. I get through all of that. I get to Paul. You know, and don't forget, I'm reading an academic text, so I don't just have the Protestant text. I have the Catholic text. I have the Orthodox text. I mean, I have everything from Esdras to the Maccabees. So I'm reading that whole thing, okay? And I get to Paul, and Paul's where I have a problem. See, Jesus was revolutionary. When you read it in order, you see the evolution of faith, and you see the revolutionary power of Jesus, and it's just like, whoa. And then you get to Paul, and you're like, oh, Paul, why? Really? Who hurt you? What was her name? Yes, what was her name? Because Paul don't like women. Paul's the whole reason why Gentiles like me can be Catholic, can be Christian. But he don't like women at all, not even a little. Like, it's not good. And it made it really hard for me. Don't get me wrong, Paul doesn't like homosexuals either. There's a lot of anti-homosexual stuff in his writings. But if you read through the Bible, you could see where he got those ideas. You can see in Leviticus and in Deuteronomy where those rules and those ideas come from. Okay? Fine. But I couldn't reconcile Peter with Paul. I couldn't reconcile Jesus with Paul. I couldn't reconcile Paul with my faith. Because I had developed faith. I wasn't just a member, I had faith. So, I went to the church, started asking questions, and they got me in an RICA. It's like confirmation class, but for adults, basically. And usually it's people who are getting married. But I was just taking it as kind of like a refresher, right? Only thing is, I'm a philosophy student who's been teaching martial arts for about 5 years at that point. And the papers we'd have to write, mine were a little bit more academic and a little harder to read than most of the other students. And the deacon who was running the class was very impressed and had to use theological books to understand what I was talking about. So I guess I could say I got reconfirmed in the church, which is not the right terminology, so I'm just going to say confirmed. But I came back to the church, and from there, I've been attending. And then I had a health issue with the diabetes thing, where I wasn't able to walk. And one of my goals to get my life back together was to be able to go to church and kneel. So what I started doing was exercising every day and running every day. And I said that when I was able to run 7 miles or 6 miles, I don't remember what the number is anymore, I was like, once I can hit this number, that's when I'm going to go to Mass. And when I started getting really close to that number, because I would have bad leg cramps and I couldn't sit and I couldn't kneel. So in Catholic churches, you sit and kneel a lot. So once I got really close to that number, the goal of going to church and being able to sit through a whole Mass pushed me to get past that barrier of 5 miles. And I think I went 7 or 10. And once I did that, the very next day I went to Mass. And I went to confession and I renewed my faith, for lack of a better term. So that's how I'm Catholic. That's how I became Catholic. That's how I believe what I believe today. And there you go. There's my testament of faith. Peace, like, subscribe. Talk to you later.